You want to be right. And there's kind of a joke about the weatherman never being right. Well, we don't have to be wrong.
Hey.
We don't have to be.
Well, with the technology you've got these days, you should be able to get a lot of this stuff right, don't you think?
Yeah, we should. We should. We've got the technology. We've got the surveillance from space. We've got the ability to do remote sensing. We've got the computing power and the modeling to, really understand what these storms are doing. The technology is there. And it was in my opinion in 1998 when I really began to get frustrated by this, that we had the technology then as well. But now we're 15 years down the road. And I know why weathermen can't get it right. It's very apparent to me. Not so much to them or their audiences just yet, but there is a piece of data that they're not including in their forecast. There is something that isn't being included in their modeling of the atmosphere. And that's kind of what the whole show is about tonight.
Scott, when you jumped into being a weather person, what was it? I mean, were you a little boy who loved the weather? What convinced you to do this?
Boy Scouts.
The Boy Scouts.
I was in the Boy Scouts. I was 12 years old. And 12 was a big year for me. My parents got me a telescope, and that triggered my, amateur astronomy bug. It still has a big, huge bite on me. I love astronomy. The other thing was the weather merit badge. And I was, working towards the Eagle Scout.
Sure.
And I just was looking for merit badges that I would enjoy doing. And so it was the summer of 1978, and I started the requirements, just going down that list of requirements for the weather merit badge. And one of them was to build an instrument cluster, anemometer, rain gauge, and so forth. So I did all that and start observing the weather. And so that was, I had to do it for a month and watch the evening news, check my observations against the weatherman and his forecast. And so, that was July 1978 when that's the month I'm going to do this. By the end of July, I was hooked. I was hooked on weather. I was already big into news, but the weather, just kind of, stood up and said, hey, you're going to like me. And I did.
Was it easier to predict then than it is now?
A part of it may be that ignorance is bliss, and that you don't know that these things are going on. So you believe your errors are your errors. And that's kind of what shifted in me. Once I got to about 15, 20 years experience, that, I'm doing everything right. The models are correct, the storm is in the right place, and, this should have been a December storm in Idaho where I had my last job. This thing should have been 1.8 inches worth of snow. And we're getting it into the half. What the heck is going on? How could I have missed this? Who missed this? Why did the local National Weather Service, issue such a boondoggle of a forecast, and the guys back in D.C. can't seem to get a grip on what's going on in the Pacific? And so it was just this whole combination of things that had me looking for answers. And then, of course, I'm big into the magnetic motors and free energy and negative resistors and whatever we can do as a people, as a nation, to get off this addictive oil. That's where my focus was when I came across Bearden's work on his website, which is cheniere.org, CHENIERE. And so when I was, digging through Colonel Bearden's information, there was a sidebar on his website, and it was titled Soviet Weather Engineering. That had my attention. And so I read through it and saw some of the pictures that his webmaster had posted. Those are a little strange, but not too unusual, but they're a little strange. And so, this was about 2001. Digital cameras were getting cheap. And so I bought one. And once I started to frame the sky, frame the clouds,